Hi, welcome to Eco Jalebi Diaries. Meet Sri Lakshmi, a powerhouse of quiet action from Bangaluru's HSR layout. As a dedicated member of HSR Citizen Forum, she's been at the forefront of sustainability at the grassroots, organizing waste segregation drives or composting workshops. She's done it all, turning everyday citizens into eco champions, whether it's demystifying dry versus wet waste or inspiring apartments to zero waste glory. Sri Lakshmi blends community spirit with hands-on solution, one bin at a time. Let's hear her story of civic action, compost piles, and waste segregation. Thank you for joining in, Sri Lakshmi. Over to you.
Hi Renuka, thank you for having me over. I'm representing HSR Citizen Forum here. It's been quite a very rewarding journey, I must say. From what started over as a personal habit changes has evolved into being able to influence a community. So I'm basically born and brought up in Bangalore. So I saw how Bangalore changed over the years, and that is what pushed me to do something. I saw that I saw it getting warmer. I saw we were losing trees. So there was something that I wanted to do. So that is when I was looking to connect with a group that could guide me, put me on a path. So initially it started as a self-learning. It was just about what I can do, how I can change my habits. So I did take a bit of a time to believe that what I'm doing can make an impact. And then when I met members of HSR Citizen Forum who are selflessly, tirelessly working to make HSR a model board, that is when I felt it was an instant connect that I felt, yes, this is the team I want to work with. Yeah.
How long have you been with HSR community?
HSR Citizen Forum, my journey is for about 2.5 years now. So I started volunteering for the various activities. Now I'm a committee member, and yes, it's growing, so on.
So, what role does HSR community play in managing waste effectively?
Yeah. So the HSR's role in terms of waste management, or HSR's influence for solid waste management, the journey goes back to a decade ago. So that is when initially when the plastic ban was implemented in Karnataka, I must say here that Karnataka's plastic ban or waste segregation rules are actually fantastic. The words on paper, the rules, everything is very beautifully and very nicely framed. What we lack is enforcement. Okay, so in 2013 when the ban was enforced, in fact HSR was the first ward to start enforcing the plastic ban. So the journey started from there. So then the background work was, when you say you want a plastic to be banned, or when you want to say that plastic is an evil and solid waste management is having challenges around plastic. So what HSR figured out was segregation was mandatory. So the solution started from there. So we said no, though majority of the communities, or even to say for that the change makers or the rule makers are pushing towards two-way segregation, the three-way segregation is what makes a difference. So where we have a wet waste, reject waste, and dry waste. So there are three segments. So HSR started pushing the three-way segregation. So when soon after plastic ban enforcement, HSR Citizen Forum saw that segregation was the actual solution which could make a difference. So if we are able to recover more and more of the waste that is being generated and send it for recycling or reusing, then we could make a lot of difference and bring in a change and send less amount of trash to landfill. So that would in turn have a huge impact around all these topics of climate change and heat waves and all that. So simple solution started with HSR Citizen Forum segregation practices. So HSR Citizen Forum, literally the volunteers went door to door for the 30,000 odd houses back then, and the volunteers we are divided into 7 sectors in HSR. So they picked up lane volunteers who could help people identify, help each household, learn about segregation. There were many exemplary bins that were given as to say, what goes in which bin, and a kit called a 2-bin 1-bag kit is called. So they were given in many places. We put up the segregation charts. So 10 years ago, our volunteers literally have gone house to house, and then they've also followed up with the pickup trucks as well, ensuring the trucks pick up the waste, only the segregated waste. The drivers were primed how to pick up only segregated waste, and then they let this sink and let the residents absorb this for a while. And after that, the next step was enforcement. That is when BBMP came into picture. They started making it mandatory. After we all went around, gave around, educated people, gave awareness, BBMP took up the task of enforcement. So, for a ward to be functional and to become a model ward, I would say it is hand in hand. You have the NGOs or the volunteers working, as well as the government agencies who are also supporting. So HSR Citizen Forum has been lucky to have that backup as well. They always support, and we work hand in hand with them. So then when we could achieve segregation, the impact that was immediately seen was where about 5 trucks was being sent to landfill. Now over a period of time, it has reduced to just 1 truck that is being sent to landfill in a week.
Wow.
So that is the impact that, yes. So now it's like once, if I can really correct the numbers, it is like 1 vehicle that goes every 3 days. Of course, I'm looking at something for achieving like 1 per week, but yes, now 1 per 3 days we are sending. Initially, it was about 30-40 tons that used to go to landfill. Now it is just 1 truckload that goes. So that is making a huge impact. And in fact, HSR stands as the only model ward, to be having about 90-95% segregation compared to the Bangalore average of 80-85. So that is the impact that the volunteers could create, right, in about 6 to 7 years.
So, understanding, we all know, but would you like to tell our audience why waste segregation is important and how does it impact our environment? What are the, most common misconceptions people have about waste segregation? And could you help us break down what happens to the waste after segregation? Where does it go and how is it processed?
See, for most of us, we're all on this, band of consumerism, right? So the more and more buy one get one free, buy one get two free, we're all really taken, we're taken on a ride by all these offers. So what has ended up is consumerism. So to say, HSR is generating a lot more waste than when we started 10 years ago. But still, if you see the impact that we are sending only 1 ton to the landfill every 3 days, despite the number of households increasing from 30 to 45,000, the simple answer is that yes, segregation is making an impact. And if okay, let me start from the first question that you asked. What happens to the waste? Most of us, we live in the present. Like I buy something, I use. I do not know where it came from, and I do not know where it will go. And that is what is making that is what is getting challenging, and that is what the problem is. So whenever I'm buying something, I'm not really looking at, is it an earth-friendly material, or will it go into composting? Will it decompose? So I'm not really worried, be it fabric, be it your daily utensils, anything for that matter. We are all, mostly taken by this thing of, buy one, get two, sale, or, flash sales and all that. So that is more of living in the present. Like, I'm going to buy, I can buy, I'm going to buy. But then I really do not know if I'll be using it or, if it is made of earth-friendly material. And after I use, where will it go? And the next thing that most of us look at it is, I wrap it in a plastic bag, I give it to the truck there, and it is done. The waste is out of my house. I'm not really worried about where it goes. And I am very sure the majority of us have never seen a landfill. Okay, I don't think anybody can bear to see that site, and you will not come back without tears. Or forget even a landfill. Recently, I had the opportunity to visit a material recovery facility where our garments are sent for recycling. Even where you look at that, the heaps of garments that are lying there, it is absolutely true when they tell you that Earth has about the current garments on the Earth is good enough to sustain another 6 generations. So that is actually true. We have that much. In fact, the material recovery facilities has so much of materials that has come in, fabric that has come in. Even the recyclers don't know where to do, what to do with it. So this is all because of consumerism. So then coming back to your question, when you say what happens to the waste, so like I say, most of us, the basic mistake, let me start from is we forget to segregate into 3 types. Okay, most of us know that wet waste, yes, is one category, and the rest, everything else, people assume is dry. Okay, what we are missing out is the sanitary waste, the medical waste, which is dry, but it has a lot of contamination on it, which we are missing out. So this element is what the 3-way segregation considers. Okay, so we all know wet waste can, now with a lot of awareness on so many topics of sustainability and all that, we all know wet waste can be composted, it can be converted into compost, so that goes back to the soil. So that part of it. Dry, we feel, gets recycled. Most of it, yes, but what happens to the medical waste, the biomedical waste, the diapers, the sanitary pads? No, we never thought about it. So this poses the actual challenge, and that is when we started imposing the 3-way segregation part of it. So with 3-way segregation, this biomedical waste is another section called as reject waste. So this is the hazardous part of it, which needs to be treated separately. So having eliminated the wet and the reject part of it, now what we are left with, the dry waste, is something that can be absolutely recovered and recycled. So the segregation ensures that there is a lot more recovery, there's a lot more segregation back in the dry waste collection centers, and there's a lot more recycling. And the end product being, we are sending very less to landfill. And the added impact. So now when we say that less of waste going to landfill has a cycle of its own, which means less contamination of soil, air, and water. So in general, yes, you have lands that are not being filled with garbage, and then you have more lands or fertile lands for agriculture, and in turn that impacts our health and the food we eat. So it's a complete chain that way. Correct. I hope I answered all the questions you asked me.
Yes, when you guys started volunteering, have you ever, have you faced any resistance or challenges by the people who don't want to segregate waste? How do you tackle that? How do you encourage residents to adopt better waste segregation habits? How do you do that? Are there any success stories would you like to share with us that has really made you feel like your efforts have made a difference? I'm sorry if I'm asking you too many, but they are interlapped and interwoven, these questions, so I'm just trying to
True. Yes. Challenges you'll always have, Renuka, because in whichever category you take, I always believe there are all kinds of people. Okay, be it community, be it volunteers, be it individuals. So you'll always have all kinds of people. Let me share one success story from Kalika Kendra, from HSR Citizen Forum. So HSR Citizen Forum, in association with SWMRT, that is the Solid Waste Management. Sorry, I'll go over it again. So SWMRT, Solid Waste Management Roundtable. So SWMRT and HCF started this India's first composting learning center called Swachhagraha Kalika Kendra. So this center has live models of composters. It has live models where people get to see what happens to the waste that comes out from our house. Okay, the waste that is generated, domestic waste, or even to that matter, some amount of commercial waste, you get to see what happens to this waste. So this Kalika Kendra, this center, has so far had about 15,000 visitors from all over India and abroad as well. We have had people coming in from different municipalities. We've had people coming in from various educational institutions, government institutions, because and they all came to see what is happening at the center and how it can be replicated. So what I wanted to share here was, so when you see so many people coming to learn about composting or coming to learn about segregation, I feel is in itself a testimony to say that yes, this is a model that is doable. What we showed in about 6 years of time, people believed that yes, it is having an impact, and that is why they came. Even today, we have people constantly coming to Kalika Kendra and getting involved with us as HSR Citizen Forum to learn about our best practices. They in fact want to know how we liaise with the government, how we work with BBMP. So they do come. So when I see so many coming from, we've had people also come from Myanmar, we've had people come from Nepal. So, we've had so many communities coming and learning to replicate. Many of them want to have such a center there where people can, be given awareness, people can be shown models and suggest that yes, segregation is the only solution. So that is one success story, if I can say. So when I say so many people are coming to see our work, I firmly believe that yes, we've made an impact, and that is why, people are coming to see our work.
In your initial days, did you have challenges with residents around, with the community people? And do you even, of course, with the numbers that are given earlier, the numbers shared by you, so I understand that most of them are on board. But even at this point of time, you still find people reluctant or hesitant to come together for this?
Definitely, yes. Like I said, there are all kinds of people. So there are challenges. There are many people who still feel segregation is a tedious job. Okay, but then I feel the only thing that they do not know is the lack of awareness. Like I said, they probably never want to give it an idea or give it a thought and see what happens to the waste that is going out of my place. So there are still people, okay. But then, like I said, we have gone around, created enough awareness, and the segregation is no more a HSR Citizen Forum or a local thing, right? It is kind of worldwide that that segregation is mandatory, and it is proven time and again that segregation is making an impact. So people know, but somewhere I feel it is just a habit change which they don't want to do. Another simple example I'll tell you, we all went around when we were telling people about segregation. One common misconception people have is somehow they want their dustbins to be very clean, okay? So they all have this practice of putting a bin liner to the wet waste. So it took a while for people to realize that bin liner is defeating the segregation process. If I'm putting wet waste in a plastic cover, the purpose of segregation, not achieved, it is defeated. Now they are thinking somebody is sitting there who has the time and energy to empty the wet waste out of the plastic cover and send the plastic cover to dry waste for recycling, which is not happening. So these are the plastic covers that usually end up in landfill. If you see, there are those black plastic bags tied, which nobody knows what is in it. So then slowly we started educating people that you should not be using bin liners. But then it took a while for them to come out of the practice. And that is when I feel enforcement makes a difference. So what happened, we primed the drivers also, the pickup truck drivers also, that they would not accept if the wet waste is given with bin liners. So when these dustbins were rejected, the truck drivers wouldn't pick up the waste from their households. Slowly over a period of time, people started learning. So he will say that, tomorrow if you put it back in the plastic bag, I'm not going to be picking the waste from your place. So they were all primed. It takes a lot of groups that needs to be done. And like I said, we even had lane volunteers back then. So they would go even before the truck comes, they would have seen which household has a problem, tell them and make them understand. But then yes, after all this is done, now we have reached a stage of enforcement. So now if somebody is not really understanding the part of it, a fine is levied on them. Then you have the BBMP, health officers who would come and say that, the waste will not be picked up. How many days can somebody hold on to the waste? Over a week or so, they will have to change. Otherwise, the waste stays back at their place. So that is what we ensured. So yes, once or wise, you will have people doing it. And the other thing that we have also ensured is there are BBMP marshals on duty, so they know these popular areas which will, which are likely to become black spots. So there are these marshals on duty who will ensure people do not discard garbage or those bin plastic covers and just throw it away while they are driving across or something. So our marshals have been so well trained and so tedious at work, they will even look at the bill on that and track you back and ensure that you take it back home, segregate and give. But yes, you will still find a set of people who are really challenging. But I believe if over a period of time they will change. And this is, most of the time I tell, this is not, even if you don't want to think about the larger picture of, say, I'm doing good for the community or the planet, just think about your own selfishness. Okay, I need that soil, air and water for myself. I need it for my family. So if I'm able to make a difference just by segregation and ensure that the air I breathe in, the water that I drink, and the soil that my food comes in is healthy, more than enough. Even that selfish motive is more than enough. So that is what I tell. If you're not able to look at the larger picture, just think of your own self. No matter how much of technological advancements we make, that nutritious food is all that can keep us healthy and alive. So if we can just work, if I can tell you that segregation is the only solution for that, and then if you can just think about that, I feel yes, why not? People should start picking that up and practicing it.
Are there any innovative waste management solutions being implemented by your community? Do you think what role does technology and government policies play in improving solid waste management? I think by far what we've understood, you've already mentioned about government policies though. Yeah. But do you think there are any innovative waste management solutions and technology that can help us implement in our societies, in our communities, that can, help this waste segregation, understanding and collection a better way? Is there a way?
See, Renuka, I feel waste segregation is a very basic thing, which, as humans, we just need to be doing. If somebody visits a dry waste center, you will see how tedious their job is, okay? That there are many ads, many, public messages that are shown on televisions and cinema screens and all about the life of these people, which is true, which is 100% true. So if I am not able to segregate that small amount of waste that is being generated from my house, imagine those Paura Karmikas segregating it from about 1,500 households, which is impossible, right? Forget being impossible, I personally feel it is inhuman as well. If I cannot take the responsibility for the waste that is generated at my house, it is not their responsibility at all. Okay, so that is where I feel, sorry, I was also going back to your previous question, that is where I feel every individual should take this up as a responsibility. Now, when you say innovative methods, I feel waste segregation is really basic. Time and again, I keep seeing on Insta and all where people are saying there must be an AI technology that will assist you to, identify the kind of waste and put it into the right bin. I feel that's a wasted intelligence. It is over-engineering. If I, as a human being, cannot identify that a banana peel is wet waste, a cardboard box is dry waste, and sanitary napkin is reject waste, I don't think I need an AI to be guiding me there, okay? Coming to government policies, yes, like I said, Karnataka has fantastic policies, absolutely nothing. It is fine, the bylaws are good, the rules are good. What is lacking is enforcement. Somewhere the laws are made, the laws are set, but then enforcement is lacking. So enforcement is something that needs improvement. Another thing that if I can suggest through your channel is that what makes a difference in HSR is having a local dry waste collection center, which is well equipped. So when you say dry waste, for us, most of us, it is like it's a broad category, like, plastic, glass, everything that is not wet goes into one bin. But if you see in our dry waste collection center, this so-called general category is further segregated into 28 different kind of things. 28 different kinds of materials can be recycled. They all have a second life. They can all, replace a large amount of virgin materials in the manufacturing segment. So I feel every ward should have a dry waste collection center, which will ensure that the recovery is better, much more is going into recycling, and very less is going into landfill. So having a local dry waste collection center will make a huge impact. And look at it, it is also economical, right? To have a dry waste center, which is, recovering so much of materials, which would also mean there is so much going into the manufacturing sector, reducing the burden on virgin raw materials. So it is a very beautiful chain somewhere that, we are losing the links in between. So yes, if the government can, ensure that there are more and more dry waste collection centers, it will definitely make a huge impact.
If you could change one thing about waste management in Bangalore, what would it be?
Yeah, I think I'll come back to the same point. We do not have enough dry waste collection centers. So I think that will make a difference. Because the neighborhood that I stay in, yes, everything is covered. There are so many of them who ask, you live in HSR, it's like everything is fine, probably that's why it's not so difficult for you. But it is not that. I feel there are, majority of the residents are aware of segregation. They're able to do it even in most of the households. Okay, but eventually the challenge is with the aggregator who's collecting the waste. They do not have a dry waste collection center in their locality. So which means even though he collects segregated waste, he has to go far and wide to hand it over to somebody, which most of them don't want to go that extra mile. So local dry waste collection centers eases the challenges for both the collectors and for the community as well. So I feel, yes, Bangalore deserves, for the population that we are, for the amount of waste that Bangalore is generating, we definitely need more dry waste collection centers. And another thing that we are also doing through HSR Citizen Forum and Swachhagraha Kalika Kendra is we have children coming in. We have students of universities, coming in as well. So these students are the future consumers. So if, they are more aware of, I'll go back to what I started with. If they are more aware of, where something comes from, where something goes, about what I'm using, and I feel that is a huge win-win, and that's kind of a victory, right? If I'm aware of how much I'm consuming, what I'm consuming, that is more than enough for you to make a conscious consumer that way generating less waste. So you're kind of easing out the burden. Yeah,
Correct. And could you tell our audience some 3 simple habits? As you mentioned about those 3, unlike the 2, dry waste and wet waste, of course there is
correct.
the 3rd one also, but there are any other 3 simple habits that every household could adopt to understand how they could go about on this waste segregation movement?
See, to start with, I would request everybody, each individual who is watching your channel, to first believe that yes, segregation makes an impact, and pledge today that yes, I'm going to segregate the waste. So kindly follow that 3-way segregation method. Have 3 separate bins at home. Okay, so 1 for wet waste, 1 for dry waste, and 1 for reject waste. So anything that is coming from the kitchen and the garden is wet waste. The rest is all dry waste, and whatever is biomedical, in simple terms, if I have to say, anything that has come in contact with the body and has body fluids is all reject waste. So if we are able to understand this, then yes, the first thing is done. The second thing, like I said, no bin liners to the wet waste bin. That defeats the entire purpose of segregation. Put your wet waste directly to the bin.
Sorry to cut you in between.
No, not at all. See, many people see that, a newspaper bag is an alternative, or a brown paper bag is an alternative. Yes, okay, some way, yes, brown paper bag is an alternative. But then you again come back to the question that why do you need a brown paper bag to your bin? Not really, and added another stage, or you're also generating, some people even buy the brown paper bags just to put it in the dustbin. That again is not really, when I say it is not, I cannot call it circular economy. I'm creating a need and then I'm using it. So honestly, there is no, the only solution, I would say, the only solution would be to just put the wet waste as it is into the bin. See, there are many people, like you were asking me, what are the challenges? So the most common argument that we get is they say that there's water that is needed to wash the bin, and we are wasting water. But then the chain doesn't work like that. Okay, the water consumed to wash the bin is very minimal compared to the tons of water that are used in making these products. Say, be it a plastic cover or a paper cover, there are tons of water that is used to make one plastic cover or to make one paper bag. And if you consider the amount of water used in manufacturing versus that minimal, about a half a mug of water used to rinse the dustbin, it is way less, and that really will make an impact. So no bin liner is the only solution. There is no midway to this. And then, of course, the third point would be, as a mother, I always found, I never found, so to say, cloth diapering a challenge. Birthday parties have always been minus single-use disposables. So I've never had parties where foil plates were given, silver cups were used, paper cups were used. Birthday parties hardly have about 20-25 guests, and I'm sure majority of our households have that that many cutlery. So somewhere that use and throw attitude somewhere has to go. If that is not shunned, then I don't think there is a way that we will reach that the dream of having to send only one truck a week to a landfill. I will never reach that. With single-use disposables always being used, it is very difficult to cut down, because the more and more there's a demand for single-use disposables, the more and more in production it is. And each of this needs a lot of virgin raw material, a lot of water that is consumed. So I would say the third point would be to reject all those single-use disposables. So under this category, you can include paper cups, foil plates. Even when you order on Zomato, you can always have a choice of, saying, I do not need cutlery. If you're eating in your office, you're eating at your house, we really don't need that plastic spoon or plastic fork that comes along, right? So even when I'm discussing it with children, I tell, you can order the cake, but do you really need the knife that comes with the cake, the plastic knife, which most of the time may not even cut the cake that we have bought? I don't think is a necessity. So there are so many such things which you can, refuse at source. Initially, we were at a phase where we said, recycle, reuse, and reduce was the cycle. Now the waste generated is so much in magnitude that we have to go a step above and say refuse is the first step. So, like, if I would say, what would be the third point? My third point, or my third takeaway for your audience would be to refuse all kinds of single-use disposables. You're having a small party at home, or puja at home, or a small party. In fact, HSR Citizen Forum has managed hosting public events with about 2,500 guests with just steel plates and steel glasses. This is a public event where food was served. It is absolutely possible. It is just a mindset change that we feel, no, who is going to wash, water is wasted. No, all that is just a mindset. It is possible. You can shun single-use disposables and use reusables. Possible. We've, in fact, me as a family, we've had a 10-day Rajasthan trip where we have really never bought a Bisleri bottle. We have our own bottles. You have everywhere water stations where you can refill water. So all these are small habit change that we can all start doing. It does not really need you to go out of your way or go out of your comfort zone. Not at all needed. It will still happen within your comfort zone. It just needs a little planning and a little forethought. I'm traveling, I just need to carry my water bottle with me. That is all. You will find water stations where you can refill. Absolutely not an issue. So yes, please segregate the waste, do not use a bin liner, and refuse single-use plastics as much as possible. So I think those three habit changes will in itself make a huge impact.
Some eco-friendly alternatives that you can suggest for our audience to reduce the household waste. If you know any brands which people can switch to, if you could suggest any 2-3 brands that you've been using or anything?
So some from my personal experience, like I said, I have a 13-year-old daughter who's just started using, who's just got her periods. So she's using cloth pads. I'm using menstrual cups. Both of these I'm using from a company called Stone Soup. This is easily available even on Amazon, so you can check their products. In fact, we've had campaigns which were sponsored by corporate companies also, where we have given the same products to about 2000 plus women. So my personal experience is that using these products have not gone back to that phase of having rashes or itching or any other complication for that matter. Even my daughter uses the cloth pads from Stone Soup as well. So we've really been having comfortable periods. Then in terms of another habit change that I have done, like I said, I have cut off all chemical cleaners at home. So, some part of either the bioenzyme or the Rita enzyme I make, but then yes, when schedules get mixed up, I also end up buying these. And Prachin Vidan is one company whose cleaners and soap cleaners, or even the scrubs. They have earth friendly scrubs, then they have cleaners, shampoos, everything which are chemical free. And that is one thing that again I can vouch for, because their chemical free cleaners is what I have used as well. And then another thing that I am very fond of doing is I'm fond of thrifting. So I don't mind buying buying or picking up from thrift stores, where be it clothing or bags or shoes. I really don't mind thrifting, because I firmly believe that is one way of reducing water consumption and ensuring that we are cutting down on the use of virgin raw materials. So in fact, I wanted to start off with that, where I said most of us as Indians, thrifting was not at all, we are all so used to using wearing our elder sister's dresses, or so to say, my first convocation sari that I wore was my mom's sari. So it is always like that. We've come from that culture, but somewhere consumerism took over. So I feel going back to thrifting is a very good habit. It will not make you look low or make people look down on you. Thrifting is a wonderful option. In fact, there are so many times that I have picked up things which were discarded with tags on it. So this is all a part of that buy one get two kind of thing. So sometimes you can get lucky as well, like that, where you find brand new items. So there are many sites where there are many sites like Weedle or Samrux. There are many of these sites where there's a lot of thrifting that happens, especially for parents with kids who are growing up. Every 6 months we are into changing clothes, where they outgrow shoes, outgrow clothes. So there's a lot of this which gets circulated amongst that. Of course, you have a lot of siblings and relatives at home. It is somewhere there. But yes, sometimes we do not live amongst our relatives, or we do not live where families are close by. Then yes, please consider thrifting. There are beautiful neighborhood communities where you can swap and pick up pre-loved items. So I think that is one thing that people should explore. We kind of have somewhere, some of us have this inhibition of using pre-loved and all that, but absolutely beautiful, especially when I say clothing, stationery, books, shoes. Thrifting is a beautiful alternative. Of course, there's the current word is pre-loved. Yes, makes it look nice as well.
I totally agree. I am a mother of 2 kids, and I've had a lot of hands down stuff from my cousins who had so to say, I totally agree to what you say, that kids definitely outgrow very fast. So obviously, and I think obviously there are I've had a different set of people who certainly believe in energy transfer. So to say that there are certain set who still don't believe in at least taking clothes, but they are okay to take items. So even if you are not taking clothes, that is one part, but there are so many other sets which can be carried to generation, and I think it just creates memories. Apart from all of this, I would like to also understand, since we are just around to close, how does the funding happen? If you're okay to share share some light on this part, since you're an NGO.
So initially, when HSR Citizen Forum was started, we had some funds which came down from our very kind MLA back then. So MLA, they have a set amount, so that was a part of it which helped fuel the initial few campaigns of us. And then we really had so many like-minded citizens and residents come forward. We just most of the time I feel we are so blessed as a community that we just have to think of a project, and somehow we've really had wonderful citizens who come forward and said that we will buy whatever has been needed. So like for example, last year we started a campaign called Ditch Paper Cup, where we went from one petty shop to another. We educated them about the side effects of drinking from a paper cup, the so-called paper cup, which has a plastic lining in it. So we educated them, but then the problem that was there was, compared to a paper cup, for them that the amount that they need to spend on buying steel cups is a little more, is expensive for them, when you're talking about a petty shop. So we decided that we will buy the initial set of 25 steel cups. We bought even the buckets for them to store it, wash it, and we went giving this to every petty shop in every sector. So by the time we had covered just a couple of crossroads in a sector, we had residents who came forward and said, if you're doing it in our sector, we are ready to sponsor all of it that is needed for that sector. We had so many such people come forward. And yes, we've also had some CSR funding coming through, so that is another source. And then like I said, a small government grant has also been made available at times, but then that depends on the kind of project that you are handling. But yes, so far so good. We've been really able to manage with many philanthropists and green-minded citizens who have helped throughout in the project.
Lastly, how do people can reach out to you? And as you mentioned that you have a learning center where people come and take composting lessons and waste segregation, understand the waste segregation system. But there are times when people can't come to you. Is there a way that you can reach out to people through online stuff, or is there do you have some other way of presence where people could reach out to you?
Currently, we are there on all social media platforms. So be it in terms of, so people can learn about the campaigns that are currently happening. So we are on Facebook, Instagram. You can search for us as HSR Citizen Forum, and the handles remain the same, be it on Facebook or Insta, or even our website is plain HSR Citizen Forum. So the www part of it. People are welcome to join us as volunteers anytime. And like you asked me about citizens who are not in Bangalore or who are not able to come to HSR, we also hold online sessions. So in terms of waste segregation, sustainable menstruation, there are a lot of online sessions that we constantly hold. So there are corporates who approach us and request for online sessions for their employees, because I assume there are a lot of there are a lot of rules that are brought into corporate and educational institutions where environmental awareness is also held as one of the key factors. So they want their employees to learn more about these things and become conscious. And even for the students, volunteering is made mandatory. So many hours need to be completed. So we hold all such sessions online as well, where they come, they learn about our activities, and then once they're interested, they'll always come on field and volunteer with us. So yes, online platform is one thing that yes, we are open to. And the many of them who want to come and see the center, they come and visit us like a field trip. There are many people who have come from across the country as a field trip and come and visit it. So yes, that's how it is. You can reach out to us on any of the social media platform and we'll be glad to help.
Thank you so much, Sri Lakshmi, for joining us and enlightening us about waste management, a subject which is often neglected, and I think it is more so out of fear of getting into that, and also because it's been believed for ages that it is somebody else's job, not mine, once the waste leaves. So today, after talking to you and listening to you, I understand that waste segregation is the basic bare minimum, and that should happen at source. So if it happens at source, it will be a lot more impactful. And something that you very rightly mentioned about bin liners, I've been guilty of using some, and I'll definitely ensure that I switch immediately. Though I will have to, as you mentioned, that in our conversation, that yes, to avoid newspapers and any other. So I will not hop on to the bandwagon of buying specially. But if I have anything existing which I can reuse it for time being to adapt to this lifestyle, new lifestyle, I will definitely grow towards that. But I don't know if you heard about this. I've recently come across on one of the social media platforms. There's somebody who's making bags out of leaves. I think areca palm leaves. I don't know, some big palm leaves, and they make bags and they make dustbin liners and they make containers out of it, especially for packaging and everything. And I think that's a fantastic idea. If I could adapt. You're on mute, Srilash.
Yeah, true. I think there are these what do you call them? There are these groups which serve, what do they call it? Farm to plate or farm to house. Some, those kind of companies which have adapted to such kinds of packaging. Like you said, areca leaves or palm leaves. And these baskets are so beautiful, they can be reused as well, and absolutely no liners in them, so they are basic things. And once they wear out, yes, they go into compost, absolutely as beautiful as that. Yes. So yes, packaging, that is a very good solution for packaging. I have seen people get the ghee bottles in that, and all the groceries packed in such kind of bags. Yes, yeah.
Thank you so much. And as you mentioned about all your handles and the way we could reach out to you, I'm sure our audience would love to know more and explore this idea further. Once again, all the best for your journey ahead, and all the best to our audiences. That I'm sure after this session, there'll be at least 1% of an audience who would want to take this and implement this. It was amazing to have you over here. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you, Renuka. Thank you for having me over. Like you said, I really hope people believe that each one of us can bring in that change. So, that typical old cliched saying of every drop of water, a drop of water makes an ocean. I really feel every individual can bring in a difference. So I will be really happy even if one person watching this can, start making a habit change. It's a ripple effect, like how we all started. It's a ripple effect. So we influence the other influences the other, and that surely works. So yes, I hope for that ripple effect to start off from eco-friendly jalebi. Thank you, Renuka. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.